Ugh, plateaus. We all seem to dread them, and yet, I will be honest, they are a common part of a long-term weight journey. The problem is many people hit a plateau and give up, when the true key to consistency is to keep going. In today's episode, we look at how to use thin thinking around plateaus so that they can be your friend and teacher and not an enemy. So come on in. Did you know that our struggle with weight doesn't start with the food on your plate or get fixed in the gym? 80% of our weight struggle is mental. That's right. The key to unlocking long-term weight release and management begins in your mind. Hi there, I'm Rita Black. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, weight loss expert, best-selling author, and the creator of the Shift Weight Mastery process. And not only have I helped thousands of people over the past 20 years achieve long-term weight mastery, I am also a former weight struggler, carb addict, and binge eater. And after 2 decades of failed diets and fad weight loss programs, I lost 40 pounds with the help of hypnosis. Not only did I release all that weight, I have kept it off for 25 years. Enter the Thin Thinking podcast, where you too will learn how to remove the mental roadblocks that keep you struggling. I'll give you the thin thinking tools, skills, and insights to help you develop the mindset you need, not only to achieve your ideal weight, but to stay there long term and live your best life. Sound good? Let's get started. Oh boy, am I crawling across the finish line. My son's junior year is almost over. His birthday is done. My anniversary, number 33, was last week. And as grateful as I am, oh boy, like I said, I don't know if you've been following this podcast, but April and May and June, and they were somewhere around here, and now I can breathe a sigh of relief. So I am looking forward to going away to my husband's cousin's daughter's wedding. And I know that's a mouthful. It sounds like a movie, right? It's his, I'm trying to do a movie voice. My cousin's husband's daughter's wedding. My husband's cousin's daughter's wedding in theaters near you. No, but I'm really excited. But it also is going to mean packing, which I hate, and traveling on a plane, which I used to love traveling on a plane. I don't know about you, but the older I've gotten, the more the idea of a 12-hour plane ride freaks me out. And so when we were booking the plane ride, I said to my husband, can we have a layover? I know it sounds crazy, right? But I was like, I just want to not be on a plane for 12 hours straight. I know some people like knock themselves out, but I'm just like, the idea of maybe I'm just more of a control freak now than I used to be. And just the idea of I'm not going to be in control for 12 hours of my physical being. I don't know. But anyway, I help people, ironically, with their fear of flying. I don't have a fear, but I just don't want to be on a plane for 12 hours. So anyway, so yeah, traveling, packing, and then wearing a hat to a wedding because it's England and you wear hats to weddings. And I don't know the first thing about owning. I mean, I have hats. I have baseball hats, but I don't have, fancy hats. But I am going to really look forward to this and look forward to being away. And I love my husband's relatives. They're all crazy. And, they all talk like, they all talk like they do in like near Liverpool, right? Like that Liverpudlian accent. I forget what it's like now. When I used to live in England, I used to be able to mock on one. Rita, give us a beer, but maybe when I come back, I'll be able to do a better imitation. But I'm going to record a few of these episodes ahead of time so that you will continue to have thin thinking while I am away at the wedding. And then I will come back and share with you some fun, I am sure, and kooky and zany wedding stories. But today we're going to talk about plateaus, and I can hear you groaning from there. Chances are you might be on one right now. And probably chances are not finding it so pleasant. So I would like to do a bit of a reframe, cognitive reframe, and start to look at plateaus not as a foe, but as a necessary and powerful part of the weight mastery process. So I have a coaching session I'm going to share with you now, and I went through this with my monthly mastery community. So I hope that you enjoy this training. Let's just talk about plateaus and take a deep breath. A collective shift breath. And just, I really hope by the end of this, this time that we're talking about plateaus, that we can have a different relationship with plateaus, that we can start to see plateaus not as a major bummer, but as something that is a natural part of the weight mastery journey. We've been diving into this idea of the longer term weight mastery journey and breaking down this mythology of, how when you lose weight, you lose it and then you're done. And then, the party begins because you've reached your ideal weight. But that is really not what a weight mastery journey is. I mean, we've lost weight before, certainly that way. I know we've done crash diets and things like that, where you can get to, down the scale, but really maintaining and especially on a long-term journey. I know she's not here, but Shelly, who is in our community, as you know, she did a podcast and everything. She's been on, a 2.5-year journey, almost 3, and has released over 100 pounds and has been on probably 4 or 5 serious plateaus, right? So any long-term journey, now she's had a significant amount of weight to lose. And sometimes, some of you don't have as much to release as Shelly did, but for the most part, that it's going to be a natural part of your weight mastery journey. And we really want to, as weight masters, not fear them or hate them, but to start to create a more powerful mindset around them so that we don't give up. So what a plateau is, for those of you who have been living under a rock, I don't think anyone here has, but it's an extended period of time where our weight remains the same or within, a range of 4 or 5 pounds, going up a pound, down a pound, up 2 pounds, down, 2 pounds when it goes up. Now, the problem with a plateau, obviously, is it can be a real killjoy, a real bummer, and absolutely no fun on the scale. Now, why, again, we are weight masters and we look at things differently. But we get a little dopamine rush, let's face it, when we get on the scale and it is down, right? So getting on the scale, seeing the scale down is addictive, right? That is just a given. It's just like a little game, little app on your phone, the game, or my husband plays Wordle. I don't have time for Wordle, but he has time for Wordle. And he and my son both, compete on Wordle every day. And, like they get there, and so we get on the scale when we're in weight release mode. And we see that scale is down and our brain's like, woohoo. And, the confetti goes in our brain and it's exciting. And it's exciting because for many reasons, because you've been working hard and putting in, with good faith, taking care of yourself, and we get into this mode, right, where we're working hard and releasing weight, and we see that feedback basically on the scale that yes, you're doing good, and yes, it's good, and you are good because the scale is down. And that's awesome, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that scenario, except for the fact that there are going to be times where the scale is up, and there's, for many, many reasons, and not that you've gained fat, but there are also going to be times where the scale is going to be stable. And we're going to get into why. But one of them ultimately is going to be because you reached your ideal weight. And the interesting thing is that when you get your ideal weight, I mean, I've been on a plateau for 25 years, but my ideal weight plateau. And so and we're going to get into this, but, we need to kind of change our relationship, because ultimately I see a lot of people release weight, get to their ideal weight. And because they're not getting that dopamine hit from the weight release, their head starts playing games with them, or they want to keep losing weight because they become addicted, or it's just like they don't know how to relate to themselves within their weight, not their weight actually not doing anything. They don't know any other way to have a value with their self-care and their weight mastery journey other than the scale going down, right? And again, the whole diet and weight loss industry is really focused on weight loss, right? And well, look, you guys are all here to release weight. Or maintain your weight, but let's be honest. But we need to kind of start to poke holes in that, and to start to look at that in order to create a more powerful mindset. So, and they can, if you're looking at the PowerPoint, excuse my little misspell, they can make us feel like a failure. Like when we're on a plateau, they can, so much of what I find are when we hit struggle points is not the struggle point itself, what's going on, but that we look bad to ourselves, right? That we don't look good to ourselves when something negative, or, something is going on that could be perceived as negative. So being on a plateau can bring back all of our weight, fears, insecurities about ourselves and weight, right? Like, oh, I knew it. I'm not really a great person with weight because I'm on a plateau. And oh, I'm somehow wrong because I'm on a plateau. And it means that I'm not good enough. And it means that I'm not working hard enough. And I'm not disciplined enough. And I have no willpower. And all of those limiting beliefs that we have on a subconscious level flood back, and every day on the scale we get on, the scale's the same. It can really spark our insecurities about ourselves, right? So again, it's we have to start to change our mindset about it, because we need to have a powerful mindset around everything on our weight mastery journey. Now, it's okay, I think acknowledging these feelings, and we're going to get into this a little bit, like acknowledging our disappointment, that's fine. Acknowledging, that those beliefs about our weight, our old weight beliefs, is fine. We need to acknowledge and accept that those beliefs exist so that we can start to work with them. The more we resist them, the bigger they get. But we need to really start to poke holes in them. But we need to, make friends with all of these things that are coming up. And really, there's nothing worse. I understand, like I'm not sitting here saying, y'all, you should be doing it this way. I'm saying, sorry, you guys, my new computer is so sensitive and does something. My old computer, I was like, bang, 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 and it wouldn't do anything. So yeah, thwarted expectations. Like there is no bigger killjoy than, seeing that scale go down every week or every day. And then all of a sudden it's flatline, and we have a deadline, right? We're like, I'm going to release this weight by June. And then, in the middle of March, nothing's happening. It's like, crap, I'm not going to meet my deadline. It can create it can bring back all of those anger, fear, all of our negative below the line feelings that we have, feelings, beliefs around weight. And ultimately we can get bored with the plateau, and we can get weary with the plateau, and we just can give up, right? So we really need to, understand and come at this, because the plateaus are a natural part of weight mastery, and we need to actually take responsibility for our interpretation of them, right? So, and what I mean by that is, on a weight mastery journey, we are 100% responsible for everything that happens. When we take that 100, when we have that 100% responsibility attitude, we aren't a victim of anything, especially the scale. So anything then for us, when we're taking responsibility, is a growing point and an opportunity to strengthen ourselves, to become more powerful, and ultimately, really truly reaching your ideal weight. It's going to be a long plateau, and I want you to love it and be ready for it. And plateaus are great practice for, getting there, because it makes you focus on things other than just the scale. We need to befriend plateaus and allow them to empower us. And why do plateaus happen? Well, a lot of you maybe have noticed on your weight mastery journey, and in the shift, we talk about this a lot, that, in the first few weeks, in the first 6 weeks, really, when we're releasing weight, it's a lot of it is water weight. And so your body is still releasing weight, even though you aren't seeing that release on the scale, because let's say you release, you're putting in the work to release a pound that week, 3,500 calories, but you release 4 pounds in that first week, and 3 of those pounds is water weight. And often what happens in a weight release journey is the first 3 weeks, we lose a significant amount of weight. And a lot of diets really actually focus on, lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Well, that's actually physiologically not possible as far as like releasing fat. Yeah, you can lose a crap load of weight, especially if you start eating right, because when you're eating poorly, you have a lot of inflammation in your body. And your body also stores water molecules with the glycogen molecules in your muscles. So in the first part of a weight loss journey, you are going to see water weight release. And even though I say this again and again, a lot of people forget that. And or if you've been away, like if you got off track and you're getting back on track, you are also going to probably see water release as well. And that can be very exciting. But the problem is then you're going to pay the scale back, because ultimately you're, you're paying back the scale for that water weight. So you might release 6 pounds in the first 3 weeks, but you've only released 3 pounds of fat. Then the next few weeks, you might see a plateau for, until your body catches up. So, and then there is a recalibration process that happens many times along a weight mastery journey. If you've released a significant amount of weight, or 20 pounds, your body internal temperature, and I think Lisa, because she brought this up with as she found this article, is that your body's internal core temperature needs to stay at a steady rate. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like 97 degrees. I don't might not be completely accurate about that, but it's a certain amount. It's a certain temperature. You guys can put it in chat. I can't see chat right now, but when your body is like recalibrating that internal thermostat, it might hold on to that, the weight release until you, it's recalibrated, and then you'll start to see a weight release.
That bodies don't, they like to stay within certain parameters, and weight is one of the things that your body might want to resist changing.
Yes.
And so it wasn't so much that it's linked to temperature, but it's kind of the same as the way your body regulates your temperature by sweating or dilating your blood vessels when you get too warm, or shivering when you're cold, that it's doing something kind of like that with your weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you, Lisa, for sharing that. So that definitely, the body is going to go through phases where it's recalibrating, and it might be a while. So it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it could be even a month. I've had many clients, students who, diligently stayed on track, didn't see anything on the scale for a month, 6 weeks, 2 months, and then they saw a significant weight release at the end of that time. But the body is sometimes going to do things that we can't feel in control of, but that we can, that is one of those things that we can at least be aware of that. And injury, if we are injured anywhere in our body is amazing. It will send water to the injury to keep it lubricated. It's part of the healing process. So we might be retaining water. And the same thing with, if you start working out, you might see a plateau or even weight gain on the scale, because when you're starting to use your muscles again, your muscles, who was I talking about with this about? They get, my husband has a term for it as swole. I guess this is a guy term. It's like, yeah, you look really swole, dude. That you go to the gym and you work out your muscles, and then, all the water goes to your biceps, and you look swole because, you've been working out your muscles. So, when people are kind of shocked, they're like, what the hell? I've been working out with a trainer and I've gained 3.5 pounds on the scale. Like, what, or you just might see, because you've created a new regime in your life where you're using your body more, your body is probably going to consistently hold on to a little more water weight now. And that's good news, because you are ultimately going to be working out, using your, muscles burn more than fat, so they're more active, but also you're going to be releasing weight ultimately more consistently if you've been engaging in exercise. But in the beginning of that, I'll go away, I won't work out, maybe on vacation, or I'll just walk, and I'll come back and I'll have released weight. And I know that, but as soon as I start working out, that weight comes back. And that's part of my normal, consistent maintenance weight. So just bearing that in mind, that if you're changing a routine, that might be a part of a plateau. Also, as we get older, and I put a little unhappy face there on the PowerPoint, because the plateau also might be that your metabolism has declined over the course of the last few months, probably not significantly, but a few hundred calories a day, and I've noticed, because I've been in touch with my own metabolism with my MetaCheck machine over the 20 years that I've been using it. There'll be drops in metabolism. It won't be like, gradual. It will just be like all of a sudden it goes down 100 or 200 calories. It doesn't happen often, I will be honest with you, but it happens, and usually it's around, somewhere in the mid 40s. I noticed something, in my early 50s. Now that I'm, 57, I definitely noticed it went down a bit this year, and I had to make adjustments. So, and also, and this is one of the biggest reasons that I see plateaus, is inaccurate data, meaning that when we start a weight release journey, a lot of times, we're engaged with our inner scientists, we're releasing weight, we're accurate, we're measuring things, we're aware of everything that's going on. And then as time goes on, because, a long-term weight mastery journey takes time, right? 6 months, a year, maybe for some people, 2 years, 3 years, right? You're going to go through times where you're really busy, or you lose focus, and that's okay. I want you to know, like, that's not a problem, but chances are you're not being as accurate as with your data as you may think you are. And again, in my own weight release journey, that happened many, many times where I was like, what's going on? I'm eating so healthy and I'm working out and I'm not releasing weight. And then when I looked really at the numbers and I got very specific, I saw, oh, yeah, that, what I thought was, 3 ounces of chicken, I was eyeballing it. It was 6 ounces of chicken. Or I stopped tracking and I was just like assuming, well, that's about 1,200 calories or 1,500 calories today. And no, it wasn't. And as with women, especially if we're off just a few hundred calories a day, you're going to not be releasing weight, because of those, just like that little, I mean, is it fair? No. Is it, but it just is. So, and a lot of these people are exercise devices. Like, I have so many clients and students, so everybody might have a different tracker for their exercise and their steps. Some of them are inaccurate, and if you go online and look at the data, up to 30% inaccurate. So you may be saying, I'm burning, 500 calories in that exercise class, or I'm, walking 10,000 steps a day, but that might not be accurate. And then also, I mean, I know I've talked about this here, but the packaging, even on packages in the grocery store, can be inaccurate by law, up to 25%. So if you think the package says that serving is 120 calories, it might actually be 100 and, I don't know, my math is bad, but 150 calories, right? And again, you might think, well, that's not very much, but what if you're consuming a lot of packaged foods, and forget about it if it's that is like corporate packaging. But if you've got people, and Lisa Lillian, Hungry Girl, in the beginning days, I don't know if she's doing this anymore, but it was fascinating because she would take, mom and pop operations who are doing their own sort of labeling, like this diet scone is only 200 calories. She would get that scone and put it in a lab and have it tested. And often those types of things that aren't corporate packaging, but more local packaging, or I don't know what to call it, but where it's probably not been going through like like definitely a government overseer, like checking these things, they can be way off, because she would say that 200 calorie scone was like 400 calories. And there was actually a client of mine online who she was at a plateau, and she had been eating these online, I forget the name of the company, I won't say it, but it was like a dessert, like zero sugar dessert company. And she was ordering them. They were very expensive online. And they were like little desserts, like cakes and cookies. I mean, it looked like a dream come true. And then, maybe 3 weeks later, some article came out about this particular company, how completely off they were in their reporting and labeling. And I think that company went out of business because, everybody. So you got to kind of check that out too. You got to look at the food that you're eating and, ask yourself, like, is this accurate data? And now of course, we can feel like, oh my God, well, then I'm not in control of this at all. But I'm going to talk about how we can start to look at this from and get more accurate for ourselves. We might have inaccurate expectations, and or you might be on a medication that might be causing you to retain water. Some medications, you know, I don't know that, uh, again, about weight gain itself, but it may be raising your insulin levels and messing with what the scale is saying. And then there just might be a subconscious resistant behavior that we're not aware of, that or that we're not that we need to tend to. Like we stay, we're good, or we're not good. We're within our range, and then we're night eating, but our brain isn't like reporting that to us. It's kind of what I call under the radar eating, or under the radar calories, where, we're consciously going, yeah, I don't think I ate that much, but kind of under the radar, we're actually adding more oil, or, like sauteing stuff with more oil than we thought we were, or not being completely not, I don't want to use the word honest, but clear about really truly how much energy is going in our body and how much we're using. I hope this makes sense, you guys. So what can plateaus give us? So let's start to shift our relationship with plateaus. Okay. So we can start to have insight, and a plateau is always, always, always an opportunity for insight about ourselves, about our body, about our weight mastery journey. We, like I said, need to take 100% responsibility so that we can frame how we see these plateaus as an opportunity. And a plateau can be, and I think this is one of the most important things, it's a mental pause. Because again, if we get into that addiction mode of the dopamine hits from getting on the scale and it being down, then the whole focus starts to become about the scale and it being down, the scale and it being down. And which, again, I'm not saying that's very human and how human, but the problem with that is then it becomes about that and not about a more holistic journey down the scale, where we're taking care of ourselves and tuning into ourselves, and really looking at this as a journey of believing in ourselves, self-care, loving ourselves no matter what. And often a plateau is an opportunity for the preparation for your next journey. It's kind of like, how swimmers tread water. You're kind of treading water and allowing your mindset to settle in, because you've been making so many changes. And I really believe a plateau gives you time to acknowledge yourself for what you've learned so far, right? Like it really forces you to kind of, instead of like, keep going, keep going, keep going, you're like, wait a minute, say, okay, nothing's happening on the scale, but let me just pause here and look at like what I've learned, how far I've come, acknowledge myself, and then think about, what is this next leg of the journey about? Because any of you guys in our group, many of you have been at this, either maintaining weight for over a year or so, or you're getting to your maintenance weight or your ideal weight, or you're, on a plateau, or you're releasing weight. That there are so many phases to a weight mastery journey. So a plateau actually gives you a chance to pause and prepare for what's next, because it's a philosophical journey. It's not just about the scale. It's about who you are, and who you are is changing from the inside out. And, the me 40 pounds above the scale and the me at my ideal weight, that was not just about the scale. That was about me changing myself and my attitudes, not just about even me or food. It was about my life. And it allowed, plateaus allowed me to look at my life and go, okay, so I've released 10 pounds. how's my life different? And now I have an opportunity to say what the next 10 pounds is about for me, not just about weight, but like, what do I need to change? Like, do I need to change my relationship with the people in my life so that they can support me more? Do I need to change how my house is set up and my kitchen is set up so that, I'm keeping the right foods out of my kitchen and the right foods in my kitchen? Even looking at finances and what stress that causes. And plateaus might even come from a lot of stress, because stress creates cortisol, and that it messes with our insulin. And, when our insulin is kind of being messed about, we might not see a lot of change on the scale. So, and plateaus can really train us that it's not just about the weight, but about that transformation. So, when we're in a plateau, this is my offering to you guys, is that we really want to focus on acceptance versus resistance, because it's a human nature to go, no, why is this happening to me? And it's not fair, and it's not, I deserve better than this. I'm working so hard. It's not fair. And I'm not saying you need to be holy and be like, oh, I'm so glad I'm in a plateau. It's so helpful. I mean, of course, you're going to be like, this sucks, you know, but accept it like, yep, okay, I'm here, but I'm not going to be a victim of this, right? But can you stomp your feet and have a tantrum? Absolutely. Go for it. In fact, have a big old tantrum, have a cry, it's not fair, and then take a breath and be like, okay, so I'm here. Let me accept where I am, settle, and figure out what, and start to look at it and start to look at what it might be about. But if we stay in that stuck, like, it's not fair, I'm a victim of this, or horror, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Like I said, when we get into a plateau, it is a time where we become vulnerable, because a lot of our subconscious beliefs about weight, our beliefs about ourselves come to the fore, and we become, it's a lot easier to think, oh, it was going so well, and now it's not. And all my belief that, this was different and I was different, it was all baloney. It was not true. I've not learned anything about myself. Like, it's easy to get into that negative mindset and turn all of that energy in on yourself in a negative way. It's a heyday for your inner critic and your inner rebel. And you've got to be really careful about that. So, listen to what the critic has to say, and thank it. Thank you very much for that. And now I'm going to turn on my coach. And really believe that, like, really practice, I know our theme this month has been patience and persistence. And the patient part of us is like, okay, do I love what's going on? Maybe not. But maybe this is an opportunity for me. What can I learn here? What can I learn? Because the moment we bring in our inner coach, and our coach is all about learning, right? Our coach is all about reinforcing. Our coach is all about problem solving, strategizing. The moment we start to turn on that part of our brain, we're not in negative emotions anymore. We actually, haven't you noticed the moment you bring in your inner coach, the mood changes, and we become more accepting, and we start to use a different part of our brain, and therefore we use a different energy. And our brain loves to solve problems. We love puzzles. So when we start to focus on this as a puzzle, as something that we're learning about ourselves, the energy in the room changes, the energy in our weight mastery room, and we take back our power. And it is not about you. There's nothing wrong with you that you're in a plateau. Plateaus happen. And there's such an opportunity for insight and learning about yourself. And again, as I go through this, at the end, for those of you who are coming in, we're going to for those of you on a plateau, we're gonna get a chance for you to talk, and we're gonna walk through this. But I just want to get through this conversation about like there is nothing wrong with you, and plateaus are just a part of the weight mastery journey, and the many phases of a powerful journey. So here are some ways that we can start to master a plateau. We can really use it as an opportunity to build a relationship with our inner coach, like a deeper relationship with our inner coach. And don't get up. I mean, like, look, you can. I'm not saying don't get mad. You're going to get mad, and you're going to be upset. But don't stay there. You know what I mean? Like, don't stay in that victim mode. We, like I said, when we take 100% responsibility for whatever is going on, we take back our power. And staying in victim mode, it does not serve you at all. It's not who you are. You're a powerful warrior of weight mastery, and I want you guys to remember that. So get curious. Curiosity is the best asset you have in a plateau. And focus on the non-weight release aspects of your journey at this time. And like I said, a plateau is really an opportunity to pause and reinforce with yourself all the growth that has happened so far, to look at what may be working and not working in your environment and in the relationships around you. Because sometimes, a lot of times when people start to struggle, somebody's been bringing in food into the environment that wasn't there before, and it may even be you. It's not just like somebody else, but start to look at your environment. Look at how are things different than when you were releasing weight. They might be exactly the same, but they might not be. Look at you and your behaviors and the way you're assessing things. You might not be tracking the way you were. You might not be measuring the way you were. You might have also released enough weight that you're, and some of you I know are on using tracking devices that adapt, and you're reporting your weight to your device, and it changes your calorie budget for weight release automatically. But if you haven't been, then, if you've released 20 pounds, 30 pounds, you might have to adjust that. You might need to adjust that. And see if there's a habit or a belief getting in the way, some sort of opportunity for change for yourself. Many times, again, in my weight mastery journey, or even, even in maintenance, if I gained a few pounds, I have to kind of, settle, love myself unconditionally. The time to look at problems and your challenges is not when this inner critic is like sitting there going, you're a loser, it's not happening for you. The time to look at what's going on that maybe things could change is with your inner coach. So never go looking for problems or challenges with your inner critic, please. Bad idea. Look with your inner coach, say, okay, let's do a little assessment. What could be the things here? And for me, whenever I hit a plateau, I had a hierarchy of questions. I was like, okay, am I tracking correctly? Am I measurements are, and usually I start there because usually it was always there. But if it wasn't, then it might be a pattern of behavior that I had gotten into that I didn't think was a challenge, but that it was a challenge. And I was subconsciously just like unaware of that. All right. So also keep accurate data. So if you were kind of like, oh, well, I'm not going to track for a while, fine, great. But now get back to it. Bring in the scientist, let's bring in the panel of scientists, with their little white jackets, our inner scientists with the white jacket, and get super data oriented. Why, again, for, those of you who are questioning this is because when we get scientific, when we look at facts, not cognitive distortion, I'm not eating anything and I'm exercising my ass off and I'm not releasing weight. That is cognitive distortion. We need numbers. It's like we need to look at what the specifics are. And again, all the stuff around it, because it helps calm our brain down. Because when our brain is in frantic, overwhelmed, stress mode, our creativity, which is really, really needed here, plateaus are really an opportunity to get creative and to use your problem-solving brain. Our problem-solving brain is not turned on when we're panicking and upset. Our problem-solving brain is far, far away. So we really want to get into cognitive correct thinking, and often just looking at the facts, whatever those facts are for you, is going to be your number one, like step one. Let's just get clear. And be more aware where there are inaccuracies. Could it be that your exercise equipment that could be 30% off, whether it's you're at the gym and you're on a treadmill, or, those of us going back, my gym is open, but I've had paused my membership for, 2 years, 2.5 years. I'm going back, I'll be going back in April. I think we'll see. And looking forward to it. But, I know that gym equipment there, like if I get on the elliptical or any of those machines, even the spin bike or whatever, I know they're off. That's not the accurate number. I usually I take about 25% off a piece of equipment. And even the Fitbit, the Garmin, I think it's called, the most accurate piece of exercise like data I've ever gotten was from my Polar heart rate monitor. But the ones that are on your wrist, I know they've gotten better. They've gotten a lot better, but they can still be inaccurate to a degree. So, use them, but realize that might not be the truth. And so you might need to readjust how you're looking at that so that you can get to a truth. And way you can do it is test, like take your calories lower, 100 calories per day. Or maybe if it's, maybe if you've started eating more starches and carbs, which again, starches and carbs aren't evil, but they might be creating, when you're eating them really does matter. And if you're eating like naked carbs on an empty stomach, that might be causing, insulin spikes. That might be messing with, just the numbers on the scale too. Or exercise a little more, take it up just a notch for a week. Like I'm just saying, do test and tweak. In business, I have to test and tweak a lot of things when things aren't going well, because I don't always have the answer. So testing stuff for a week, like test taking your calories 100 calories lower for that week. Just find the willingness to do that and just test it. Because it could be that there's just some inaccuracies in the data that you're getting that just try that for a week. And if it works, okay, good. So, maybe you've learned something and maybe can make some adjustments, or exercise a little more and just see if there is an adjustment that happens. Sometimes I see people take their carbohydrate levels just way down for a few days, and that kickstarts something for them. And it probably is some sort of like insulin reset in their body that just allows their body to release some weight, and then they'll just start to see the scale go down again. Those are some things that are just like hacks that are, some ways to maybe get some information, make some adjustments without, again, to really again, I'm coming back all the time to 100% responsibility for you. That please don't go into the victim mode. It's so easy to do around plateaus. All right, everybody, have an amazing week. And remember that the key, and probably the only key to unlocking the door of the weight struggle, is inside you. So keep listening and find it. And I will see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Thin Thinking Podcast. Did that episode go by way too fast for you? If so, and you want to dive deeper into the mindset of long-term weight release, head on over to www.shiftweightmastery.com. That's www.shiftweightmastery.com, where you'll find numerous tools and resources to help you unlock your mind for permanent weight release, tips, strategies, and more. And be sure to check the show notes to learn more about my book, From Fat to Thin Thinking, Unlock Your Mind for Permanent Weight Loss, and to learn how to subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode.